All in Sports Network. We love sports.
How's it going, everyone? Another night at the office here for All in Aggies, Ben Peck, and a good reason that we're joining you a little bit later than normal. We had an absolute classic in the NCAA tournament for women's volleyball. 5-setter, 15-13 in the fifth set. A&M falls to Wisconsin, just narrowly missing out on a trip to the Elite Eight for the first time since 2001. We're going to be touching on that in the second half of this video. We're going to start, though, with a look at men's basketball taking on Purdue, Indianapolis, 11 a.m. Central on Saturday. By the way, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy having this as part of your media diet, we would encourage you to do so. A healthy amount. It never hurts. Be sure to subscribe to help us out and help continue to make the show improve as we go along, especially we got some big news coming up in the new year, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, Purdue and Texas A&M. This is going to be one of the only two top 25 matchups on the slate for Saturday. We're going to look more so at Purdue to start this off. We're going to take a deep dive into them. They have some common opponents for Texas A&M, some future common opponents, I should say. They have played Alabama and beat them 87-78. They have played Ole Miss and beat them 80-78. So 2-0 against the SEC. They're going to try to make it 3-0. I don't think it would legally be allowed to be a Purdue team if they didn't have 2 7-footers on the squad. That they do. Really only one of them sort of plays on a semi-regular basis. They don't have like a Zach Edey featured guy, at least just yet, but they've got some in the wings. So you've got some size to deal with. But really what jumps out is, as we're going to hear from Buzz Williams here right now, the 1-2 punch, Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. 71% usage rate per Buzz Williams between those two guys combined. That is, if you're not into the weeds of basketball, advanced metrics, that is somebody who is going to get a shot attempt, an assist, or a turnover on any given possession. So if one of those happens, that was a usage for you. So between those two combined, so you could have, I believe, like duplicitous usage rate to where if I set you up for, well, no, because that would be an assist. But if I set you up and you make your basket, that counts as an assist for me. That ups my usage rate, and that also counts for you. So it not all usage rates add up to 100. That's a long way to say that. But point is, these guys still are the big 1-2 punch. Kaufman-Renn on the inside, shooting 59% from the field. All of that pretty much inside the 2-point line. And then Braden Smith, lights out shooter, 21 for 60 from beyond the arc, 21 for 50 rather, 42% from three. He is averaging, 13 points a game, 19 points a game for the big guy inside. So a lot to focus on with these guys. This was Buzz Williams talking about how you deal with that as a team.
Normally when you're talking like that, I think you're normally probably talking about perimeter players, like the 2 freshmen from Rutgers. This is their point guard and their 5, and they're making the decisions. Their 5-man second in assists because he has the highest usage rate in the Big Ten. So how you handle those two with the other 3 on your team that are not guarding those 2, I think is somewhat unique.
So there you have it. It certainly is, and obviously that kind of fits the mold of Purdue, right, with a big focus on the inside. Let's take another look at something that these two teams have in common. We've talked so much about buzzball and Texas A&M's ability to get to the line. Between A&M and Purdue, they have done it more than just about anybody over the last few years. Of course, a big part of that with Purdue last several years has been Zach Edey, the big giant inside who, Purdue fans would argue got fouled every play. So that was a big part of it. A&M, it's more, spread around. They're picking up team fouls on charges, which leads to off-ball fouls converting into bonus opportunities once you get into the second half, especially. And the first half, but second half, A&M, has been really good about turning that on. Wade Taylor, so good at drawing fouls. Just to give you a sense of that, for this year, Purdue, 233 field goal attempts compared to 158 for their opponents. If you're wondering how A&M shapes up in that regard, 256 to 183. So I think the free throw battle will be one to monitor, and the foul game. I think A&M can spread it out a little bit. I do think it's interesting. Those two guys that Coach mentioned, if you can get them in trouble, obviously that would go a long way, whereas A&M is a little more spread out evenly with the distribution. Wade Taylor certainly has a lot of usage for sure. But beyond that, Zerk Phelps, a little bit here and there, can kind of take control if needed of the offense, but really kind of spread around. And, the offensive rebound game has been how they've made a name for themselves over the years. They're out offensive rebounding opponents 172 to 114. Part of that is, I say that. I was going to say part of that is the field goal percentage, but actually, normally you say, okay, A&M in some of these years, they're shooting maybe 3 or 4 percentage points worse than their opponent, but they're making up for it with these offensive rebounds this year. Now, again, I know this includes some like small conference teams, but this year they're actually outshooting their opponents 41%, which isn't great, to 38, and 41%. That could be a little bit better if you're shooting, 35, 36 from beyond the arc. But A&M only shooting 30% from beyond the arc, but only allowing 29%. So to have that offensive rebounding edge while you're also making more of your shot attempts, that speaks volumes, I think. So that'll be an area to watch. Rebounding, of course, we mentioned the bigs for Purdue is a big part of their game. They have a narrow advantage on the rebounding situation, but they're actually getting out offensive rebounded on the year. Now, I think that definitely has to do with the defense for Purdue. Defensively, Purdue is holding teams to 42.7% from the field and about 30% from three. Meanwhile, they are shooting about 50% from the field, 41% from three. So Purdue, not the quickest team up and down, but they're very efficient. And, like we said, they get to the free throw line. That's going to be the MO. I think you've got to be able, as Buzz said, right there, not just denying those two guys, but I think you're going to have to be able to defend as a unit well, but you're going to have multiple ways to go at those guys, I think. And I think you're going to have to use your depth to give, Smith and Kaufman-Wren a different look throughout the game and just keep them off balance. Use the depth to your advantage and keep them on their toes. I will say too, A&M in the two losses has had various guys out. So, and also if you look at the two losses, the two common themes, UCF 22 for 31, Oregon 23 for 31. Okay, UCF actually shot the ball pretty poorly in that game, worse than I even remember. 34% from the field, but they got to the free throw line. So is it going to be that kind of game? Or is it going to be, flipped on its head? Is A&M going to be able to play clean defense, which they've been doing very well lately defensively, or are they going to get a little sloppy, out of position, let Purdue get to the free throw line, convert their attempts there, make their threes? A&M's been doing great three-point defense this year. They're allowing, like I said, 29% from three. It was not so great against Texas Tech, 39%, I think it was, 12 for 31. So now that's a team that chucks it up, but Creighton was a team that shoots a lot of threes. 13 for 37. Purdue, I think, makes about 8 a game. So I don't think volume-wise they're going to go crazy, but I can't let them hit that timely three. You've got to stay focused and do what you got to do to get through it. I do apologize. I wasn't able to catch the all those games that were on HBO Max exclusive. I do not have HBO Max, so some of those tournament games wasn't able to get a look at them, the Oregon and Creighton specifically. But I like where A&M is headed. This is a brutal non-conference schedule. Another tough test on Saturday. Purdue, 11 a.m. Central. We're going to watch that game, and then I'll come back on that afternoon tomorrow and give you a breakdown of my thoughts on that one as we prepare to get ready for conference play. All right, we're going to move on now to volleyball postseason action. Oh, but I'm still like coming down from this one. This had my heart jumping throughout, and the comeback and everything else that went with it. But if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and help us with all of our A&M coverage. Because again, we're trying to cover just me. We're trying to cover every single sport on this campus and pros. We're going to talk a little Dan Campbell this weekend, by the way. We're going to start now that A&M football has a little bit less going on week to week. We're going to start venturing out to the pro stuff. We want to talk about high school, future Aggies of the past, present, and future for all the different sports. So it's a massive undertaking, and any support we can get from you guys means a lot, and we appreciate it. Anyways, I say all that. Stall. I'm trying to find these some of these stats to pop up here for Texas A&M as they take on Wisconsin. Listen, brutal finish, but a lot to be proud of here. This was a match where it was, rematch from earlier in the year. I'm trying to see if they've posted. Here we go. All right. We're going to reset because I want to make this its own segment. So bear with me if you've been watching through the full episode. Okay. Texas A&M falls to Wisconsin 3-2 after a marathon and after just a wild roller coaster of emotions. A team that A&M fell 3-0, got swept in the regular season. They take them to the brink. They take the Badgers to the brink. 15-13, decisive fifth set. And this was a match that had just all sorts of everything. Just by the way, backing up to that sweep, that match was probably more competitive than it seemed at, just from the base score line. That second set was 30-28. So A&M was competitive in that match, probably, again, more than the sweep would suggest. But this game tonight, oh my gosh. First of all, the efficiency was crazy for both teams, but especially for Texas A&M. When both teams were winning the set that they were in, they were going nuts. That first set was crazy. First set was 39% hitting percentage for A&M, 54% from Wisconsin. So that was sort of your shootout. Then a little bit of a slugfest. A&M, I think, kind of slowed their horses down and got it together. They went on a nice little run in that second set. They take control with the win in that second set, 25-18. By the way, some of the top performers on the night, Logan Lednicki, she does what she does, 23 kills. Emily Helmuth, 14 kills. And I will point out someone who I was very impressed with, Morgan Perkins, came in clutch time and time again. They needed that extra attack, that extra option. You've got Afena Kasapala up as a middle blocker and Logan Lednicki, of course. By the way, Maddie Walk, the setter, I don't see how many assists she got. 56 assists on the night. So she was great. Taylor Humphrey, another girl who can chip in there on the front line. 8 kills for Humphrey, 14 for Helmuth, 23 for Lednicki, but 13 for Morgan Perkins in what felt like more limited action just watching it live. And A&M, that second set really impressed me, second and fourth set, because not just they won those, but it was you go into it, I go into it, like, okay, first set, we'll see what this goes. Let's see how this goes. A&M is clicking on all cylinders for a little bit, but Wisconsin's just playing out of their mind. And, like I said, they're hitting 54%. So they win that one. But you thought, okay, if they're just not going to be, demigods, eventually A&M can come back into this game. They slow down the attack a little bit. I think the block got a little more consistent, and A&M was able to grind out some points. And they had a nice little run at one point where, they built it up to 19-12. Wisconsin, though, battled back, kind of tightened it up a little bit toward the end. And, I don't want to overstate it, but they were making a little run, making it a little interesting. But A&M really snuffed that out. Third set, as we go there, I'm trying to remember how these runs played out. Third set, back and forth for the most part. A&M had the lead late, 17-15, and then a big run from Wisconsin to end it. So they were up 17-15, A&M was, and then down the stretch, 25-19 the final. So can't do math. What is that? That's 10-2 run to close it out. So they just had it going. They had some of their big hitters showed out as well. Sarah Franklin, 21 kills. She's one of the best players in the country. Carter Booth, and they've got so much size as well. Anna Smrek, 6'9" on the front line. They have, A&M's got some size and some versatility and athleticism with their middle blockers and attackers, but Wisconsin just has some giants. Their blocks were fantastic. And I think, too, what felt like the difference to me was, especially in that fifth set. I want to get to that fifth set. You fall behind 11-6, and it looks like, man, A&M's just not going to have enough in the tank to get through this. They've kind of hit the wall, and they're falling apart a little bit. But little by little, not just the sets from WAC, but the defensive play from Wisconsin really tested Texas A&M. It felt like there were so many points throughout the match tonight where A&M had great swings, great attacks, and you're like, there's no way anyone's saving that. But Wisconsin just digs it up and finds a way. They were great defensively, and I think that was the difference in when Wisconsin was able to kind of power through what should have been like runs for A&M to finish it off, and they shut them down. I think Ellie Stinson, by the way, she had a huge stretch. Can't remember which one of these sets it was, which set it was, but she had one stretch where A&M kind of had to battle through and come out on top, and they did it with her serving. Yeah, here it is. I think it was 16-15 in the fourth set. And again, do or die for A&M. And Ellie Stinson came in after, side out. She came in when it was 17-15, and then they run it up. Eventually, they go on to win it 25-23. And again, it tightened up there in the fourth set, but A&M just finds a way. I thought Athena Casapala was fantastic on the block tonight. She, with overpasses and just keeping plays alive. And Logan Lednicki looked really good on the block. Just a lot of versatility and a lot of moving parts that you've seen from this team improve as the season's gone on. Just some final thoughts. Moving forward, this team is going to have so much to work with next year. They just signed one of the top recruiting classes in the country, and they have so much coming back. Athena Casapala coming back, Emily Helmuth coming back. You've got Logan Lednicki, of course, Margot Manning, Taylor Humphrey, Ava Underwood, all these girls, Maddie Walk, Morgan Perkins, all these girls coming back, and you've got a top 10, and some others, by the way, and you've got a top 10 recruiting class on the way. I believe it's top 10. So, and transfer portal, I think this is the type of game, match, season trajectory that you can sell to recruits and transfers and fans to say, get on board. There's fun things happening. It reminds me a lot of Texas A&M volleyball. Well, it definitely reminds me of A&M volleyball. No, it reminds me of A&M softball, where first year make the tournament, bow out in the regional, but you make it to that regional final, sort of, and you lose to Texas, the same way volleyball lost in the second round to Texas last year. But you took a set off of Texas, and you took a game off of Texas for softball. Or I don't know if they took a game off Texas for softball last year. But anyway, you were in that regional pretty good. You were in the game to take control of the regional for softball. And then last year, the super regional, you fall to Texas, but you're building, right, with Trisha Ford and those girls. With this team, I think you're seeing the building going on. It's not quite like baseball where you come in and you instantly make the Final Four of the College World Series and the championship game next year. Not quite that, but to go from missing the tournament to making the tournament, taking a set off the national champions, and then the next year, this year, you go Sweet 16, a team that's made now 8 Elite Eights in a row, but you took them down to the wire in Big Ten territory. I think that says a lot about the energy around this program. And again, you still have a lot of experience coming back, and I think you're going to have a lot of talent to work with. You've got a vision to sell. You've got people believing in it, on the bench, in the program, outside the program, fans at large, and just really excited to see what the future holds for A&M volleyball. All right, that'll do it for now. A little shorter than normal, but just wanted to get some thoughts out on those two topics. A&M men's basketball take it on Purdue, 11 a.m. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We'll kind of have some thoughts about that game. And then, by the way, I'm going to try to set up to see if we can do a live stream for that reaction. So keep an eye out on that. If I can figure out how to do that, I will. And then volleyball, hats off, ladies. Sweet 16, first time in a while. Almost made it to the Elite Eight for the first time since 2001, but great job. And I know they made a lot of Aggies proud. So congratulations to them. Thank you so much for joining us right here on All in Aggies. I'm Ben Peck, and we'll see you back here next time later this weekend.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.